Howdy, Dennis Bradford here. Let's think some about being, feeling, and doing better.
Mastering stress. Life is challenging for everyone. That's actually good news. Why? You're finding life challenging does not mean that there's anything wrong with you. Furthermore, the goal of mastering stress is not to end or eliminate it. Instead, it's merely to reduce stress to a much more comfortable level, and you decide for yourself how much to reduce it. What's the goal of mastering stress? Simple. Reduce it to a level in which it's no longer a problem. When? When should you master the art of stress reduction? Now! The quality of your life won't improve if you postpone treating the problem of having to endure too much stress. Poison will just keep seeping into your life, right? It's good to be skeptical. You should question what I say. Please evaluate my recommendations for yourself. So, is it really true that everyone experiences stress from challenges? Yes, we are body minds, psychophysical organisms, living sentient beings. As such, sandwiched between birth and death are the normal processes of staying alive, such as growth, survival, reproduction, and parenting offspring. There's no staying alive without solving the physical challenges of having sufficient air to breathe, water to drink, food to consume, shelter from inclement weather, and protection from other animals, including other human animals who would harm us. Of course, there's also no staying alive without avoiding premature death. Obviously, too, debilitating or crippling conditions, injuries, and diseases can be extremely challenging and successful. So, it's true that everyone has challenges. Furthermore, at least when we live long enough, we become old, ill, and die. Dealing well with these challenges and avoiding turning them into problems requires mastery. Especially in privileged, advanced societies, those challenges may not even be the ones that cause the most stress. Jean-Paul Sartre had a point when he wrote that hell is other people. Sometimes our most stressful problems are caused by our relationships with other humans. There's a multitude of possible causes of stress. Furthermore, each of us is unique. A situation that one person experiences as stressful may be enjoyable to someone else. Even if it were possible, there's really no point in merely listing all the causes of stress and then for each one trying to figure out the best way for you to ameliorate it. Instead, let's categorize the common causes of stress into 5 kinds. It may be at least a bit helpful to become clearer about that. Why? Chronic stress is an underappreciated killer. Everyone understands that it erodes peace of mind, but not everyone understands that it's a major risk factor for all or almost all of the epidemic diseases and deleterious conditions of our civilization, such as cardiovascular disease, hypertension, obesity, cancers, and mental illness. It's an underappreciated killer because, although it may not directly cause death, and so may not be listed on death certificates as the cause of death, the direct cause of death may well not have even existed without the underlying chronic stress. At least for now, all you may feel that you need to master stress is to use some common stress reduction techniques, which you may already be using to keep chronic stress under control. You may be right. However, even if they seem to be working well now, you may eventually find none of them adequate. You've almost certainly tested some for yourself and perhaps even used them regularly. Yet, you are nevertheless watching this video and so are likely worried about the amount of stress you're experiencing. Furthermore, you're using common stress reduction techniques is likely to be reactive rather than proactive. A better way to live is to prevent chronic stress from arising instead of waiting for it to arise and then trying to reduce it. You may think that chronic stress is not an acute enough problem for you to bother with right now. That, though, may not be true. This may be a case of cognitive blindness, in which you're understanding reality to be the way that you want it to be, rather than understanding it as it is. I argue in what follows that the most serious cause of stress is only infrequently even mentioned, and almost never seriously discussed, probably for the simple reason that few experts have any clue what to do about it. After reviewing the common causes of stress in the next video, I'll not only explain it, and you're likely to react to it with an, "Of course," but I'll also point you in a specific direction to undermine it proactively, as well as to reduce it when you occasionally experience it. Don't worry, If you test my recommendation for yourself, you'll find it not only a simple and enjoyable prescription, but also one that is so effective that the quality of your life will quickly improve in a lasting way. I guarantee it. As we'll see, it's usually the case in all 5 categories that what causes problematic stress is awareness of loss or limitation. When we become conscious that our life situation has deteriorated, or in general simply fails to meet our expectations, we may experience severe or acute stress. In general, stress occurs when we're conscious that either our life situation has deteriorated or that it simply is failing to meet our expectations. It's perfectly normal to experience stress. The only humans who do not experience stress are dead. In fact, sometimes experiencing stress can have beneficial consequences. The problem comes when acute stress is experienced repeatedly and becomes chronic. The fundamental problem with respect to chronic stress is that there's a gap between our thoughts about how we want life to be and how life really is. For example, when you realize that a loved one has died and so that the separation between you and that person is not only undesired but permanent, you'll normally become grief-stricken, which is very stressful. Death of a loved one is a stressor, which is just a cause of stress. We'll consider stressors in the next video in this series. Why? It's a specific example of the familiar tactic of trying to understand what's causing a problem in order to treat those causes to dissolve the problem. So, let's next consider stressors. I encourage you to identify those that are particularly likely in your life to cause chronic stress. Then we'll consider common stress reduction techniques that you may find useful before turning our attention to the greatest stressor of all.